Disclaimer, Hunting Horn is a completely valid weapon choice and is just as capable of clearing all the content in the game as any other weapon. With that said, Hunting Horn is a garbage weapon used only by band kids or people who want to go back to their Bard-only run in Baldur's Gate. It does less damage than someone flailing two dead fish around, and the support capabilities are even more lackluster than the music that it makes, and the music sounds like this. Horrible. It's ranked far below all the other real weapons on this tier list I found on the most reliable site you've ever seen, and frankly, it deserves to be ranked even lower. This weapon sucks. If you use the weapon, you suck, and you should all swap to dual blades because they're cooler and better in every way. That last paragraph neatly summed up my opinion on the Hunting Horn in Monster Hunter World, the second greatest game of all time. I couldn't fathom why someone would take a look at the game where you use weapons 3 times their normal size to kill monsters and seal their skin to make fashionable hats, and decide they wanted to spend their time beat-bopping on a bagpipe in the background instead of brutally breaking the beast's bones. Then I noticed that I hadn't uploaded anything in a month and figured fighting the final boss with a musical instrument would be some quick and easy content to make. Both of those adjectives proved to be horribly inaccurate, however, because I had no idea how the weapon worked and it took me longer than I'd like to admit to become competent enough to even land a hit with this thing. But it was fun, so I made the video anyways. Let's get into it. For my first time ever using the weapon, I decided I should fight the first monster in the game, y'all don't count, a Great Jagras. This thing is slow, does no damage, and misses most of its attacks, but these things all apply to me as well, so it's a perfect place to figure out, whatever this weapon is supposed to do. We got music notes up here, music notes over there, notes on a staff, notes on a column, and this thing that may or may not be a music note. We got songs like Attack Up, Health Boost, Wind Pressure Negated, and Impact Echo Wave. I don't think that piece of music lines up with what just came out of the bagpipe, but that doesn't matter to me since playing a specific rhythm on purpose is currently beyond me. The 3 different notes are tied to the different attack buttons, and putting the attacks in one of the orders defined in the upper right cues the song on the list on the left. Playing the bagpipe, which is also an attack, plays through your queued songs, giving you the desired buffs and making a nice little tune while you're at it. First thing I learned about this weapon was that playing a bagpipe is hard, not because it's apparently one of the most difficult instruments in the world, but because of the massive lizard who doesn't take a break to listen to the music like a well-behaved audience member should. Fortunately, the bagpipe does do stun damage, meaning hitting something in the head enough times will give it a minor concussion, giving you plenty of time to do whatever you want. Also, it's a Great Jagras, so sometimes it'll just kinda do nothing anyways. One not-so-peaceful tune later, and the monster was down, and I was feeling a bit more confident. I understood how to hit things a bit more, actually played a song on purpose instead of randomly button-mashing all the time, and made a magical glowy buff puddle on accident, somehow. Let's go fight the final boss in the entire game! With a full set of endgame armor and an upgraded, electric guitar, apparently, I set off to fight Fatalis. For those unfamiliar, Fatalis is this guy. He's a big dragon who breathes fire. Lots of fire, in like 20 different ways. And also it's blue sometimes, but he can't play the guitar probably, so I have a pretty strong advantage here. Counter to everyone's expectations, I did not, in fact, manage to beat the final boss on my first try. I didn't even get close, partially because the fight is hard, and partially because everything I just learned got thrown out the window the moment the fight started. The notes were different colors, the melodies were more complicated, and the song effects were even more confusing. Like, what is a sonic wave? It doesn't do damage, it doesn't stop me from getting blown up, it's useless. However, the knowledge that different horns came with different songs was valuable, and I'd make sure to put more thought into the weapons I was using in the future. For the next fight, I decided that instead of fighting the hardest enemy in the game, I would fight the hardest enemy in the very first zone, Anjanath. Similar to Fatalis, the dragon who breathes fire, Anjanath is a dinosaur who breathes fire, which is very scary because they're not supposed to be able to do that. To counter it, I chose a horn with songs that would help me stay alive, like Defense Up or Health Recovery, and set out to beat up the beast with my... actually, do any of you guys know what this is? Like, listen to that noise. Is that a wind instrument? Why is there a giant rock on the end? Is that making the noise? Anyways, I still don't know how to play it. Sometimes notes show up when I'm not expecting them to. I'm getting different songs from the same rhythms, and I still don't know where these weird buff puddles are coming from. Not to mention the song effects are, a tad underwhelming for how vulnerable they leave you, but when it comes to the attacks that involve less make some pretty music skill and more of the whack the fire dino in the face skill, I was getting a lot better. I figured out which moves hit really hard to use on vulnerable monsters, and I discovered the funny spinny move that hits a bunch of times, and that makes my dual blades brain happy. What made it significantly less happy was the Xeno'jiiva fight I tried next. After selling 201 snowmen to get the money to make an on-level horn-drum hybrid, I set my sights on the final boss of the main campaign. This massive glowing alien baby dragon thing is honestly more of a cutscene than a fight, with all of its attacks being too slow and weak to actually pose any meaningful threat, but even though I never came close to failing, the way in which I succeeded left a lot to be desired. I missed a lot of attacks, which shouldn't be possible when the enemy takes up your entire screen, and I continue to play useless songs while getting shot with lasers. Over the course of the entire fight, I learned a grand total of one thing. The attack that hits twice plays 2 notes. Yes, it took me this long to learn that, and if that disappoints you, then you'd better prepare yourself for the next fight against Fatalis. Again. I don't even know why I'm putting this section in the video. You didn't think I'd succeed on my second try, did you? Because no, I didn't even come close. Sure, I made it to phase 2, which means I took out just over a fifth of his health, but I spent almost half of my allotted time getting there. It probably didn't help that I wasted the knockdown time playing useless songs. Like, what am I even doing here? I just played Sonic Waves 3 times in a row. Like, the first thing I learned is that Sonic Waves is bad. Why am I like this? Wait, sorry, no. That sounded like I was saying it was my fault. That's not real. That's not a thing. I'm perfect in every way and never make any mistakes, so it must be the weapon I'm using. I don't need this stupid guitar that keeps playing useless songs. I need something with damage, and for that, I looked to Fate's Dirge. Tons of attack, tons of elemental damage, ignore that crit rate. It's got attack up large, defense up large, ignore that song. It's also got impact echo wave, which is just a song that does damage. This thing is perfect. Almost as perfect as the monster I'll have to fight to get it. Introducing one of my favorite monsters in the game, the World Eater, the Endless Hunger Destroyer of Ecosystems, the Pickle, Deviljho. This massive monster defines itself almost entirely by interrupting your quality time with other monsters to make it all about himself, and I love it. Doesn't matter where you are or what you're fighting, this oversized vegetable will run in, grab the monster in its mouth, and start using it as a tool to beat you to death. All of his attacks show off tons of aggressiveness and chaos, making the fight a little hard to follow at times, but overall it's a blast. Yeah, sure, the fight got interrupted by a random Black Diablos every now and then, but that's kinda how Deviljho fights are supposed to be. I had to fight him 3 separate times to get all the materials I needed, but I didn't mind because this fight is just so engaging and entertaining, and- Wait, sorry, this was supposed to be a hunting horn video, right? Look at him go, he can play the guitar. Incorrectly. Yay. Okay, back to Deviljho because I'm still not done. I actually still have to fight his significantly angrier version, Savage Deviljho. Basically, it's just a permanently enraged version that got injected with the element of dragon, and yes, dragon is an element, there's fire, ice, thunder, water, and dragon. Accept it. The fight is significantly harder with massive death clouds and death lasers, letting the monster cause even more problems than it did already, not to mention the random drive-by Nargacuga who thought it'd be fun to join in every now and then. But I still managed to clear it with about 7 minutes to spare. Problem though, I'm still not using this weapon right. Or, well, playing it right. Or at all, really. I played like 5 songs this entire fight, and they were all on accident. This is the hunting horn. The whole point is that it can play songs. If I'm not doing that, I might as well just be using the hammer instead. But this isn't a hammer video, it's a hunting horn video, where I beat the final boss. So with our new horn in hand, I started another Fatalis fight. Actually, wait, back up really quick. Look at this horn. I don't even know if I can call it that anymore. This isn't an instrument. They just put Deviljho's head on a stick and called it good. I love this thing. I do not, however, love the damage I was doing with it. Yeah, it was better than the guitar I was using earlier, but every swing felt super slow and committal, with the longer ones trapping me in situations where only a well-timed roll could ensure my survival, and I am not known for my timing. In addition, these attacks didn't even feel that strong. I wasn't doing nearly enough damage to clear the fight in time, or even make it to the 3rd phase. Again though, not my fault. This time I'm arbitrarily blaming, my gear, yeah. I haven't optimized my skills yet, that must be the problem. Look at all these defensively focused abilities. I don't need that, I need damage. That'll get me the win, just you watch. So yeah, I did actually almost beat it on my 4th try. Like, I got to the final phase. He had to have under 10% of his health remaining. Dramatic music at the end of the fight was playing and everything, and then I ran out of time. But this proved it was possible. I was super close to winning. I just had to have 1 good run. So the next 3 runs all timed out too. They all did super well, they all got right to the last phase, except for you, but I couldn't quite deal enough damage to outpace the clock. Looking back on it now, I still had plenty of areas to improve. The combos I was using when it was vulnerable could do with some more improving, and I was still struggling to hit weak points, but at the time, I felt it was the weapon at fault. I was doing better, I was playing songs, leaving behind puddles, doing everything I'd spent time learning, but it just wasn't enough, especially when the boss kept deciding to run back and forth across the stage for what felt like minutes at a time. There had to be something more I could do, and after looking around a bit for something else to blame, I settled on the specific horn I was using. Again, why was I using a Deviljho horn? Sure, it had some good songs and quality damage, but look at that crit rate. It was doing nothing but holding me back. No, if I was going to be taking on the final boss, what better weapon to do it with than one made of its own skin and bones? The Fatalis Menace Wailer is another guitar because the name Hunting Horn became obsolete the moment we brought percussion into the mix, and frankly is just a better tool for the job in almost every way. I mean, every way but elemental damage. It does a bit less of that, but it's got better attack, better sharpness, more slots for more abilities, and only gives minus 20% crit rate instead of 30. So, perfect. Not quite as perfect, however, as the dual blades I had to use to get them. Yeah, I had to kill Fatalis to get the Fatalis Hunting Horn, that's how it works, and doing it with the horn I already had would defeat the point, so I will momentarily hijack this video to talk about the weapon I'm more familiar with. This fight was so much easier with dual blades. I'm sure most of that is just familiarity on my part, but everything just worked out better. It was way easier to dodge attacks, hit specific parts of the monster, and just to deal damage in general. Like, look at those numbers. The bagpipes I was using didn't even compare. I honestly played the fight horribly. Like, look how many shots I missed on the roaming ballista. I deserved to lose, but the sheer damage output of the dual blades carried me through it anyways, with time to spare. With the fight done though, I made my Fatalis horn but really a guitar that would hopefully be able to compete damage-wise. Also new armor. I have wings now. So it's not lost on me that I'm now mostly done with this video about fighting the final boss, and I've not really talked about the fight at all, but, I mean, what do you want me to say? It's a dragon that breathes fire and flies. Don't stand in the fire and shoot it out of the sky. Pretty simple. There is one part, however, that does deserve mention, and that's what happens in Phase 3. This fantastic little piece of visual candy signifies the start of the last chunk of the fight, where Fatalis gets new, more dangerous moves and just generally shoots more fire everywhere. This attack is stupid, and I wish the Clutch Claw worked better. To be clear, though, it's not the increase in the fire's quantity that makes the later phases so terrifying, but the quality. If you don't hit the dragon's head with your bagpipe, or the cannons, or the walls enough to break it, Fatalis gets a little more purple and a lot more dangerous. Like, everything one-shots you now dangerous. Failing to make this check led to me failing several of the next runs, and before I knew it, I was onto my 12th try. But this was the try where I finally made the change to my own gameplay that I should have known to do from the start. I actually started playing songs. Now, to be clear, I was playing songs before, but I'd do so when Fatalis was on the other side of the map, when I should have been playing them right up in his fire-breathing grill. From the start, the reason I didn't like this weapon was because of the amount of time you spend not damaging the monster. Yeah, sure, there were a few songs that did damage, but it felt more worth it to just whack the monster without any unnecessary musical accompaniment. I just wanted to see big numbers, but what I didn't realize was that the biggest numbers of all came from playing the horn. The attack that happens when you start playing hit way harder than I thought it did, and while it did leave you vulnerable, the fight had plenty of opportunities for me to make use of it. In addition, there were also several different forms of this attack, some that were faster and others that did even more damage, and all leading into your songs that gave you attack buffs, speed bonuses, or even more damage. With this new knowledge, the challenge went from impossibly hard to, well, still pretty hard, but way more doable. With my understanding of the hunting horn finally going beyond hit it until it dies, I could deal more than enough damage to kill the black dragon before I ran out of time. So finally, on my 16th attempt, with less than 1 minute remaining, I dealt the final blow. With the roaming ballista, which doesn't necessarily make for the most satisfying ending to the hunting horn video, but if you guys think I'm going through that again, you are horribly mistaken. Unless, of course, you guys scream at me in the comments enough. I might do this with a few more weapons if you all enjoyed, but for now, that is all from me. See ya! Jump for video coming out soon, okay, bye.